Hi, Eric Johnson here at Vanderbilt's Owen Graduate School of Management, and I'm here with Jim Forbes. Jim is the Vice Chairman of UBS Americas, and we are so excited to have you here today, Jim.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm really delighted to be here.
Well, you know, Nashville is a healthcare town,
Right.
and I know you spend a lot of time thinking about the healthcare industry. Looking at 2019, what do you see for Nashville's $90 billion healthcare industry?
Yeah, I just see continuous growth going forward. Quite honestly, the demographics of the United States sort of make it inexorable because when you're talking about the aging population, people over the age of 65, we've got another 10, 15 years for the baby boom generation before all those people are through age 65. So I think that's going to lead to a lot of growth. I think, some of the developments in technology and medical technology will continue to lead to growth. So I think the outlook for Nashville, not only in terms of companies being created here, but existing companies growing is quite good. So I'm very bullish on healthcare in general and Nashville in particular.
That's great. Well, so are we. So I hope you're right. And certainly post-election,
Right.
I've seen a lot of reports, even some coming out of your bank, that are looking at the 2019 and cautiously optimistic, but with maybe a few new risks or storm clouds on the horizon. How do you feel about 2019?
A great question. So, my own personal view is, look, we've seen growth slowing in China over the last 18 months. We've seen it, certainly in Europe, hasn't really recovered since the Great Recession. Germany's hit a bit of an air pocket right now. And the question is, this tariff war, trade war that the US and China, the Trump administration has precipitated with China, where does that lead? You're already starting to see some impact in certain industries in the US in terms of corporate earnings. Look, we've had almost 2 years of great economic growth here, 3.5% growth quarter to quarter to quarter, very low unemployment. I guess my concern is that growth is probably going to slow. My own personal view probably slows in 2019 into 2020. We could still have very solid economic growth of 2.5%, 3%, but is 3.5% sustainable? That would be my big question. Then what's the impact then on the equity markets at that point? What does the Fed do? The Fed's caught in a bit of a box right now. They've raised rates, they've signaled they want to continue to raise rates, but if economic growth is slowing, what do you do? So I think it's going to be a very interesting 2019. We've seen the equity markets reacting literally hourly to, okay, a rumor of a trade deal with China, no trade deal, remarks made
A Trump
by the
tweet,
a Trump tweet, whatever. And so I think, you have to be, ready for a bumpy ride over the next 12 to 18 months, I think.
Yeah, certainly we have a lot of students in our building that are interested in careers in finance.
Right.
We spend time up in New York and
Right.
visiting the banks and learning about those careers and so forth. And you've had an amazing career in finance, not UBS, but many great firms before that. What advice would you have for our students that are thinking about heading off to the banks?
Good question. I think, I always say there's three things you have to be focused on. Number one, you have to be passionate. You really have to want to do this. And I think that's true of any career, whether it's in tech or consulting or finance, whatever. Be passionate about what you do. I say to my wife, if there's ever a morning when I wake up and I'm in the shower and I don't want to go to the office, that is the day I should hang it up, right then and there. Because if you're not passionate about what you want to do, that's probably a signal you may not be enjoying what you're doing and you should be doing something else. So I'd say a passion about it, number one. Two, I think that incoming students need to think about working as a team. Certainly here at Owen and schools like Owen, there's a lot of team building exercises, but when you're working on Wall Street, you're going to work in teams, whether it be 4 people, 6 people, 8 people, 10-person teams working on an M&A deal, an IPO, whatever. You have to be able to function and work as a team. You have to be able to get along. Clearly there will be distinct personalities, and sometimes you won't necessarily gel with those personalities, but you have to be able to work as part of a team and take direction. And I guess that's the second thing. And third, I would just say an intellectual curiosity. Even though I've been doing this now for 30 years, which is difficult to say, but 30 years, I think a curiosity that just because Jim Forbes has done it this way and this is how he presents to clients doesn't mean that's the right way anymore. So I always challenge our first and second year associates who've just come out of business school to think about, all right, what would you do differently? Is the message getting across here? So I would say be willing to think outside the box a little bit. Just because that business school taught you this particular way, think out of the box a little bit. What would you do differently? Is there a different message you would have a client or a different way you would deliver the message to a client potentially? So I think those are the three things I would focus on as much as anything.
Well, certainly well aligned with our culture here. We spend a lot of time in teams at
good.
Owen. I think our students really collaborate extensively throughout the curriculums. That's a big piece of it. But I give them that same piece of advice when they arrive. You know, we hope to infect you with the joy of learning and discovery and that, you know, curiosity, because I think that's what drives
Absolutely,
any
that's
career.
great.
Any
That's
career.
great.
Well, my last question is, you know, you've been a leader in so many different places, and along the way, I'm sure you've learned a lot about leadership. Can you share a leadership lesson with us?
You know, I guess my biggest lesson is feedback. It's about feedback. Yeah. So I would say that you have to be willing to give people honest feedback, good or bad, at the end of the day. So that's when I became, the first time I was running a group of people, a small group of people, 30, 40 people, you're sort of flying by the seat of your pants. No matter what you read in a textbook, whatever, an organizational behavior, human resources, the first time you have to deliver bad news to someone, it's easy to deliver good news. Someone's performing well. That's the easiest task in the world. But if someone is underperforming, that's a difficult conversation to have. I would say that being able to give people continuous and honest feedback. I think too many companies, too many managers say, okay, HR says it has to be twice a year, so it's July 1 and January 1 you're getting feedback. No. I think particularly generationally, this generation that's in business schools right now, they want more constant feedback on every assignment they're working on. So that's something I've learned, and quite honestly, I think it makes the message that you're delivering as part of an annual or semi-annual even easier, because you're giving that feedback constantly to someone and telling them, this is what you're doing really well, but these are the areas you can improve upon.
So I think no surprises.
There's no surprises at the
annual
end.
one comes.
And I think too many careers are derailed by getting a surprise. And I think that's something that a lot of leaders need to learn, is giving that constant feedback as much as anything.
Well, it's wonderful to have you here today, Jim. Thanks so much for spending the day with us at Vanderbilt.
Well, listen, and as I was telling you earlier, we love the Owen grads. They've been a tremendous success at our firm, and we look further to recruiting more Owen grads going forward.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to that partnership. Thanks for being here today.
Take care.